All right, Lauren. So the first preseason game is here, which means cuts are not far behind. And as much as you and I have spent time talking about how good we feel about the skill positions, with cuts right around the corner, it is time to start having those uncomfortable conversations about some of the veterans in the wide receiving corps right now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I certainly think the better, if you could be an asset on special teams and you're a wide receiver, I think that will increase your chances at this point, I would assume. But other than that, yeah, they're going to have a lot of tough decisions to make.
I mean, the rookies have shown up in camp. Tedero and McMillan certainly has had some issues with man-to-man coverage, but overall, most of the press has been about his ability to just out-leap everybody. You have seen how many highlight videos come out of multiple one-handed catches in single practices, right? Like there is a lot of expectation for that guy. From the moment that rookie camps opened, there's been nothing but positive reviews from Jimmy Horn Jr. Now we're at a point where a lot of what we're hearing leads me to believe Hunter Renfro is going to make this roster. So, man, it's time to put some feet to the fire, I think, for a whole lot of different reasons. And let's start with the most obvious one. Not that he is in danger of getting cut, but certainly Xavier Legette, as much as we like him, it is time to prove he is more than just a social media star at this point.
Yeah, and I've heard certainly some positive things from the Meet the Parents, meet the Panthers. Meet the Parents. Oh, they're so young.
They are making a fourth one. Perhaps it could be like a Happy Gilmore 2 situation where we shoehorn in every possible cameo we can, including Xavier.
But Xavier, he would be funny in that one for sure. But no, I mean, yeah, in the long term for sure, he's got a lot of pressure on him. I don't think Jalen Coker is unsafe, for instance. But I mean, they, NFL teams don't typically carry a ton of wide receivers, and so like I said, unless you can be a special teams presence. That's the only thing I can think of that could set you apart from somebody else.
I mean, we did this, a couple of weeks ago with when we were talking about how realistic is it that Hunter Renfro makes the roster. I mean, if Renfro now is looking like a valuable addition, 6 receivers is pretty standard. And I don't think there's a whole lot of room for error.
Right. I agree with that. And it is interesting. I mean, you would like this. I don't know if you saw this, but Hunter Renfro, Bryce Young was asked about Hunter Renfro kind of looking like a regular dude. Did you see that? And he's like,
I did see this.
You see me? What do I have really room to say about how Hunter Renfro looks physically? Come on.
Going back to his time at Clemson, I used to say he looks like a Glee Club president that became a Chick-fil-A manager. Which, but I mean,
I love that personally. I always love when guys don't look how they're expected to, and end up being really good. I just get a kick out of that. I don't know why.
I always hated him at Clemson, but it was for that reason, right? It was because he was so undeniably he was just there when you needed him to be there. And God, I'm pretty sure I could beat him up. But, you can't
You're
stop
how is he doing this? That's why you were so mad. You're literally, how is he doing this? Is it magic? Did he get rookie of the year or something where he hurt himself and all of a sudden became the fastest guy on earth for 2 seconds? How is he doing? It's like sorcery with him, but it is, it is something where he's a great, he's a really good route runner. Really, I don't want to use the cliches. I know it sounds cliche. I don't mean it like this because he's a white wide receiver. He just is a smart wide receiver.
But I mean, here's the thing. We talk about route running as if it is about timing and precision with a quarterback, but being a good route runner can also create separation too. I think there are things, there are things that we associate with the stereotype of being a white wide receiver that still carry a lot of value in the NFL. And Hunter Renfro seems to be proving it. So let's put Renfro to the side for a second. The locks to make this roster are probably, tell me if you think I'm missing somebody, Tedero McMillan, Xavier Legette, Jalen Coker, and Adam Thielen. And then after that, it seems like Hunter Renfro and Jimmy Horn Jr. are so far ahead of the pack that the guy that is responsible for the signature moment for Bryce improving, David Moore, is probably on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't want to, I was going to say, because the thing about Horn, in addition to him, like, obviously doing really well at camp and exciting people, and even though he's not the biggest guy either, he's so fast that kind of makes up for a lot of any size issues.
And look, I mean, maybe other guys are doing the same because we are in camp and you can have multiple returners and they just aren't getting the same kind of coverage. But it does sound like Jimmy Horn is very firmly in the plans to be either a kick returner or the punt returner this year.
And I know they're looking at ETN potentially for another returner. But I would love Horn as a returner because you know how I feel about the fact that the Panthers have not had a dynamic return man in a while. And
it's a difference maker.
Since Ted Ginn, maybe? Yeah. I mean, I know that I remember anybody after that. And, it was started in the great tradition of Steve Smith, and then He Hate Me.
Was it Rod Moore? Was that his name?
Rod Smart.
Yeah.
Yeah, He Hate Me and Smitty and Ted Ginn. And like, it can really... We've seen it against the Panthers, Lord knows, plenty of times, because that's always been my pet peeve with them, is that their coverage units have tended to suck. And so, like, I'm like, okay, like, it can change the whole game. It can flip the field. Like, it's important. And so to have somebody like that back there is exciting. And hopefully he doesn't turn into a Brenton Burson, where we wasted years of our collective fan experiences watching that guy barely be able to catch the punts.
Yeah, I agree. I do think that unless the Panthers are looking at Horn designated solely as a returner,
right?
I think, unfortunately, it spells doom for David Moore.
Yeah, and I would hate that, because I really think he could be a positive piece. And I mean, look, Renfro has done better than I expected, and I hope everything's fine. Everything is like long-term fine with him physically, and it'll all be okay. But
you know what? That's the other part too. Like, I hadn't really thought about that. You do hope everything is physically fine with Renfro. It is possible. And I'm a little more open-minded to Renfro could make this roster than I was when you and I had this conversation about a month ago. It is possible that a lot of the positive coverage has to do with the fact that he is a Carolina's guy playing for the Carolina Panthers. Like, maybe it's a different thing without that lens.
But I do think, and I hate to, I'm not saying this because I don't think he like has done enough to make the roster or doesn't deserve it. I'm not saying that. I'm not there. I don't know. But I do think, like, you had Dabo showing up and talking about to watch Hunter. Like, you have, and there has been a lot of discontentment, consternation, whatever you want to call it, at the fact that there have not been really a whole lot of Clemson. There hasn't been a whole lot of Clemson representation on the Panthers, in spite of the fact that obviously they send plenty of players to the league. Right. And so I think, like, even though that's not going to be the reason they make any kind of a decision, I do think that holds some influence here, because, like, no one is dumb that's making whether David Tepper or Dan Morgan or whomever. Like, I think they understand that, like, there are a lot of Clemson fans around here. They see the ACC championship games when it's like all filled up with Clemson fans. Like, they understand, like, okay, there's an untapped market here that maybe we don't have to see, like, opposing teams fans.
Right. I mean, this team anymore. Clearly, whether it's Tepper, whether it is the people that the various people he's had making personnel decisions, this team clearly looks at South Carolina as a program that they like the way they develop dudes, right? Why would Clemson not be thought of similarly? Why would Clemson? I was
going to say offended because, like, look at what they've accomplished.
No, I hear you. I mean, there are certainly times, like, it frustrates me. Don't get me wrong. I liked Xavier Leggett. Like, you can go back to the very early days of this podcast, and I was telling you that I thought, or I guess the very early days of the draft process. When we were doing this process, I was telling you how much I liked Xavier Leggett. I like Kyle Kennard coming. Like, I think there are talented dudes that come out of South Carolina, but to a certain extent, I do kind of I've gotten to this point where I kind of throw my hands up and think, why even bother looking at tape or evaluating? Dave Tepper is just going to take the Gamecock because it will fill seats in the stadium for a couple.
But it's not. I mean, and the thing is, this on its own won't either, right? Like, it's it's not like Clemson fans are going to be like, oh, we just spent all day tailgating and drinking at a top whatever 10 matchup on Saturday. We're gonna get in the car first thing in the morning and drive on down to Charlotte to watch Check's Notes, Hunter Renfro. Like, that's not happening unless there is a more it's gonna have to be both. It cannot just be like, oh, Hunter Renfro's here. It will also have to be like, oh, and the team is good and this is exciting, and you know what I mean? So it'll have to be both.
It would also have to be, and I don't put this out of the realm of possibility because Jalen Coker exceeded all expectations last year, but there's a year's worth of film on Coker now. If Renfro is having the kind of season or kind of preseason that they say he is, it's not crazy to think there's a scenario in which he ends up overtaking Coker for that number 4 spot. But, we've got to see him make the roster first. I think there is a whole lot that we have to do to get from point A to point C before we say, oh, Clemson ties, that will be a difference maker.
Yeah, we'll see. I just am saying, especially with all the hype building up around it and stuff, it just won't surprise me at all if he ends up.
Yeah, no, I agree. At this point, I think he's going to.